The great station floated in the darkness between stars. It was old, older than most civilizations that now sent their ships across the galaxy. The station was called Prime, and for thousands of years it had served as a meeting place for species who wished to talk instead of fight. On this day, 11 species had gathered in its central chamber. They called themselves the Young Races. They had learned to travel between stars only recently, at least by galactic standards. Some had achieved this miracle 2,000 years ago. Others had done it just 500 years before, but all of them were hungry. Hungry for new worlds, hungry for resources, hungry for power. Consul stood at the center of the chamber. He was a creature with 4 arms and eyes that shimmered like black jewels. His people had built an empire of 60 worlds, and he believed they deserved more, much more. "The Orion Spur is unclaimed," he said, his voice sharp and clicking. "Rich in metals, rich in habitable worlds, it belongs to no one. I say we take it." The representatives of the other species nodded and made sounds of agreement. The tall and blue-skinned spoke of the minerals they could mine. The who looked like floating masses of tentacles talked about the ocean worlds they could colonize. Everyone had dreams. Everyone had plans. But there was a problem, a small problem according to a stupid problem. "Protocol demands that we consult the elders," said a diplomat. "Before any major expansion, we must hear their words." Made a sound of disgust, the elders, those ancient species who had traveled the stars when the young races were still swimming in oceans or crawling through mud. They were millions of years old, some said billions. They had seen empires rise and fall like waves on a beach, and they had grown tired, careful, afraid. "The elders do nothing," said. "They sit in their ancient ships and watch the universe grow cold. What wisdom can they offer us? What do they know of hunger, of ambition?" But protocol was protocol. The message was sent, and to everyone's surprise, 3 elders answered. The first to arrive was Ambassador Eth of the. She was beautiful in a terrifying way. Her body was made of living crystal, and light moved through her like blood. She was 600 million years old. She had watched stars die. The second was called simply the Whisper. It had no body that anyone could see. It was a Gestalt entity, the combined minds of a species called the. Once, the had numbered in the trillions. Now only a few thousand remained. Their consciousness merged into one being that spoke directly into the minds of those who listened. The third was first memory of the architects. The architects were made of silicon and metal living machines who had existed since the galaxy was young, moved on legs of jointed stone, and when it spoke, its voice sounded like rocks grinding together. The young races grew quiet, even felt a chill as these ancient beings took their places. Ambassador Eth spoke first. Her voice was like wind chimes in a storm. "You wish to enter the Orion Spur," she said. "It was not a question. We know why you have called us, we know what you want, and we have come to give you a warning." "A warning?" asked. "About what? The region is empty. Our scouts have confirmed this." The whisper pressed into their minds. Its voice was cold and sad, like the memory of a funeral. "Not empty," it said. "Contained. There is a species there, a world called Earth, a people called humans. They were placed under quarantine 200,000 years ago. They must not be disturbed." Laughter rippled through the young races. 200,000 years. That was nothing, a blink, and a quarantine against a single primitive world. "What threat could such a species pose?" asked the representative. "They have not even achieved faster-than-light travel. They are animals, insects." First memory stepped forward. The ground trembled slightly under its weight. "We have watched the galaxy for 4 billion years," it said. "We have seen species that could destroy stars. We have seen empires that spanned 1,000,000 worlds. We have seen weapons that could tear holes in reality itself. We feared none of them as we fear the humans." The chamber fell silent. "You are joking," said. "We do not joke," said Ambassador Eth. We do not exaggerate. We do not speak from ignorance. The humans are dangerous beyond your understanding, not because of what they are, but because of what they do. And what is that? Demanded. The whisper answered. They do not stop. They do not surrender. They do not accept defeat. You can burn their cities. They will build new ones. You can kill their children. They will have more. You can push them to extinction. They will crawl back from the edge and come for you. They do not know when they are beaten. They refuse to learn. Ridiculous, said. Every species can be defeated. Every species can be broken. It is the way of the universe. First Memory looked at him. Its eyes were ancient, filled with memories of ages beyond counting. We thought so too, it said. We were wrong. That is why we caged them. That is why we beg you now to leave them in that cage. But was not afraid. He was ambitious. He looked at the other young races and saw his own hunger reflected in their eyes. They had come too far to turn back because of old stories and ancient fears. We will vote, he announced, all in favor of expansion into the Orion Spur. Every hand, tentacle, and appendage rose. The motion carries, said. We thank the elders for their counsel, but we are not children. We will make our own choices. The three elders did not argue. They did not protest. They simply turned and began to leave. But at the door, First Memory paused. It looked back at the young races with something that might have been pity. They do not conquer worlds, it said. They become the reason worlds cannot be conquered. Remember those words. You will understand them soon. Then it was gone. Watched the elders leave and felt only triumph. The Orion Spur would be theirs. New worlds, new resources, new power. The warnings of tired old beings meant nothing. He did not know that he had just made the greatest mistake in the history of his species. He did not know that somewhere, on a small blue world called Earth, a species that had been caged for 200,000 years was already looking up at the stars, waiting, remembering, and preparing for the day when the cage would finally open. 60 years passed like water flowing downhill. The young races spread across the Orion Spur like seeds carried by the wind. The Dominion built 17 colony worlds. The Federation claimed 12 more. The Combine grew fat on the resources of ocean planets. Everyone was happy. Everyone was rich. And everyone had forgotten the warnings of the elders. Captain of the survey vessel Horizon's Promise was not thinking about ancient warnings. She was thinking about the strange readings on her scanner. That cannot be right, she said, staring at the display. Run it again. Her science officer, a young male named, checked the instruments for the third time. His blue face was pale with confusion. The readings are correct, Captain. The planet has an oxygen atmosphere, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and, he paused, industrial chemicals, pollution, electromagnetic signals. That is impossible, said. This region was surveyed, it was empty. Perhaps it was mist, suggested, or perhaps the species developed after the survey. Looked at the planet on her screen. It was blue and green wrapped in white clouds, beautiful, but what made her hearts beat faster were the lights on the dark side. Thousands of lights, cities, someone lived there. Take us closer, she ordered. As the Horizon's Promise approached, more details became clear. The planet was not just inhabited, it was crowded. Massive structures covered the land. Ships moved in orbit, primitive things that burned chemical fuel. There were stations around the planet, rough and ugly but functional, and there were other worlds in the system showing signs of settlement. Then made a sound of shock. Captain, I found something, debris in high orbit, very old, I am analyzing it now. He worked his console. It matches the signature of architect technology. These are pieces of quarantine buoys. They were destroyed. Destroyed by whom? By launches from the planet's surface, primitive rockets, chemical explosives. Looked up. Captain, this is the human world, the one the elders warned about. They broke their own quarantine. Felt a chill run down her spine, but she was a captain. She had a duty. First contact protocols were clear. She opened a communication channel. Before she could speak, a signal came from one of the orbital stations. It was in her own language. In 4,000 other languages, each message identical. We have been waiting. We remember the ones who caged us. Are you them? Swallowed? No. We are the Federation. We are explorers. We come in peace. There was a long pause. Then the voice returned. It sounded different now, warmer, almost excited. Explorers, yes, good, please will you visit us? We have so many questions. We have been alone for so long. Against her better judgment, agreed. The shuttle that came to meet them was ugly. It was made of metal plates welded together, powered by engines that looked ready to explode. But it flew well enough. Inside were creatures that had never seen before. Humans. They were soft-looking things. No armor, no claws, no natural weapons at all. They stood on two legs and had two arms and flat faces with small eyes. They were fragile. One good blow would kill them. But they smiled when they saw her. They reached out their hands in greeting. They asked her name and told her theirs. They laughed and joked and seemed genuinely happy to meet her. It was strange. It was unsettling. It was nothing like what I'd expected. The shuttle took them down to the surface, to a great city built beside an ocean. Millions of humans lived there. The streets were crowded. The buildings reached toward the sky. Everywhere looked, she saw life and energy and movement. An old human female met them at a large building in the center of the city. Her hair was white, her skin was wrinkled, but her eyes were sharp and bright. "I am Director Constant," she said. "Welcome to Earth. Please come inside. We have much to discuss." She led them to a room with comfortable chairs and a window that looked out over the city. A young human brought drinks, a hot brown liquid that smelled strange but tasted good. "You know about the quarantine," said. It was not a question. "We know," said. "We remember. 200,000 years ago, ships came from the sky. They placed satellites around our world. They blocked our signals. They shot down anything we launched. Then they left. No explanation, no communication, just a cage and silence." "How did you escape?" Smiled. "We did not escape. We broke out. It took us 150,000 years to develop the technology. We failed many times. We lost many lives, but we kept trying. Eventually, we destroyed the last satellite. And then we waited." "Waited for what?" "For you, for anyone. We knew that someday someone would come. We have been preparing." Looked around the room. She thought about the cities she had seen, the stations in orbit, the colonies on other worlds in the system. The humans had done all this in 200,000 years. Alone, without help, without the knowledge that other species took for granted. "The elders said you were dangerous," said. "They told us not to come here." Nodded slowly. "The elders, yes, we have studied your transmissions. We know who they are. We know what they said about us." She paused. "Did you listen to their warnings?" "No," admitted. "Good," leaned forward. "We have a data chip for you. It contains our history. Everything we have done since the cage was built. Every war, every plague, every disaster, every triumph. We want you to understand what we are." Took the chip. "What are you?" Looked out the window at her city, at the millions of humans going about their lives, at the ships rising into the sky, at the future her species had built with their own hands. "We are the species that refuses to die," she said. "We are the species that does not know how to quit. The elders caged us because they were afraid of what we might become. Perhaps they were right to be afraid, but they made a mistake." "What mistake?" Turned back to. Her smile was gentle, but her eyes were hard. "They gave us 200,000 years to think, to plan, to remember. We do not forget, Captain. We remember every year of our imprisonment, every generation that lived and died in that cage. We remember who put us there." She reached out and touched his hand. Her grip was soft, warm human. But you are not them. You came to us with open hands. You offered peace. And we accept. We want friends, Captain. We want to learn. We want to grow. The galaxy is wide and wonderful, and we have been trapped on this small world for so long. She squeezed his hand. Thank you for coming. We have been so very lonely. And looking into the eyes of this old human woman, suddenly understood what the elders had been trying to say. She understood why they were afraid. It was not the anger in those eyes that frightened her. It was the patience. News of the humans spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Every species wanted to know more. Every government sent diplomats. Every scientist demanded access. The small blue world called Earth became the most visited planet in the Orion Spur. Consul saw opportunity. The humans were primitive, yes. Their technology was crude. Their ships were slow, but they had something valuable: numbers. 14 billion humans on Earth, another 2 billion on Mars and the Moon and the orbital stations. They could work. They could fight. They could be useful. He sent a delegation to discuss an alliance. The terms would favor the Dominion, of course. The humans would provide labor and soldiers. They would provide technology and protection. Everyone would benefit, though some would benefit more than others. The humans accepted every delegation with open arms. They were eager to learn. They asked questions about everything. How did faster-than-light travel work? What materials were starship hulls made from? How did artificial gravity function? They wrote everything down. They studied every device they were shown. They thanked their visitors for every piece of knowledge. At first, the diplomats found this charming. The humans were like children discovering a new toy, curious, excited, harmless. But then the patterns began to emerge. The ambassador, a sharp-minded female named, was the first to notice. She was meeting with a human archivist, a quiet man named Dr. James, to discuss cultural exchange. During their conversation, she mentioned that the quarantine had been placed 200,000 years ago. Ancient history, she said dismissively. It hardly matters now. Doctor looked at her with calm, patient eyes. We remember everything, he said. Every day of those 200,000 years, every ship that approached our system, every signal we sent that was blocked, every generation that was born, lived, and died inside that cage. We have records, we have names, we have dates. Felt a strange coldness in her stomach. That is impressive. We do not forget, Doctor said. It is not in our nature. What we learn, we keep. What we suffer, we remember. The elders who imprisoned us, whoever they were, wherever they are now, we remember them too. He smiled. It was a friendly smile, but something behind it made one to look away. That was the first pattern. The humans did not forget, ever. The second pattern took longer to see. An engineer named was assigned to help the humans understand basic shield technology. It was simple stuff, the kind of thing his people had mastered 10,000 years ago. He expected the humans to struggle with it for decades, maybe centuries. 6 months later, the humans had built their own shields. Crude versions, yes, less efficient, but functional. Was impressed. He reported his findings to his superiors. They told him to help the humans with faster-than-light theory, just the basics, of course, nothing too advanced. 18 months later, the humans tested their first FTL prototype. It was different from Galactic Standard. Strange. It used principles that did not fully understand. It was less efficient, slower, harder to maintain, but it worked. When asked how they had done it, the lead human scientist, a woman named Dr. Sarah, just shrugged. We made a lot of mistakes, she said. 37 test pilots died. Hundreds of experiments failed, but every failure taught us something. Every death gave us data. We kept trying until it worked. She said it so casually, 37 dead, hundreds of failures, as if this was normal, as if this was just how things were done. That was the second pattern. The humans did not stop, no matter the cost. The third pattern was the most disturbing of all. An diplomat named Flowing Current was discussing trade agreements with a human delegation. The humans were pleasant, cooperative, and willing to negotiate. But Flowing Current noticed something odd about their behavior. "You learn very quickly," he said. "Your species has accomplished in 60 years what took most civilizations 1,000. "We have to," said the human negotiator, a middle-aged woman named Ambassador. "We were trapped for so long. We have so much catching up to do." "But how? Your brains are not larger than average. Your processing speed is normal. How do you advance so fast?" Ambassador thought for a moment. "We try everything," she said. "Most species, when they find a solution that works, they stick with it, they optimize it, they make it better, but they do not explore alternatives. We do. We try the obvious solution and the strange solution and the stupid solution and the solution that should not work at all. Sometimes the stupid solution turns out to be brilliant. Sometimes the obvious solution is a trap. By trying everything, we find paths that others miss." She leaned forward. "And we share. When one human learns something, all humans can learn it. When one human dies trying something new, other humans study that death and try again. We are not individuals competing against each other. We are a process, a learning machine made of billions of parts." Flowing Current reported this conversation to the council. They discussed it for many hours. At the end, the oldest member of the council said something that no one wanted to hear. "The elders were right to be afraid," he said. "These creatures are not dangerous because they are strong. They are dangerous because they do not stop. Every time they fall, they get up. Every time they fail, they learn. Every time they die, they come back. You cannot defeat something that refuses to accept defeat." The mood in the conclave began to shift. The humans were still friendly, still eager to learn, still willing to trade and cooperate, but the young races began to see them differently. They saw a species that had been caged for 200,000 years and had spent every single day of that imprisonment trying to escape. They saw a species that had suffered countless disasters and had rebuilt from everyone. They saw a species that had clawed its way to the stars with nothing but their own hands and their own stubborn refusal to give up. The architect's first memory, silent for 1,000,000 years, sent a message to the conclave. "You see now," it said, "they do not compete, they iterate. Every death teaches them. Every failure makes them stronger. They are not a species, they are a process. And you cannot stop a process. You can only slow it down." The young races read this message and felt a deep unease. They had ignored the warnings of the elders. They had laughed at the fears of ancient beings. Now they were beginning to understand. The humans were not their enemies. The humans were not their rivals. The humans were something else entirely, something that the galaxy had never seen before. A species that simply would not quit. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, something old and hungry was moving toward the Orion Arm, something that had destroyed 17 galaxies, something that had never been defeated. It did not know about the humans yet, but it would. And when it did, the galaxy would learn what happened when an unstoppable force met an immovable will. 50 years after first contact, the galaxy received a message that changed everything. It came from the deep void between galactic arms, that empty darkness where even light seemed afraid to travel. Monitoring stations detected it first. A signal, old, repeated, automated. It had been traveling for 60,000 years. The message was simple. It contained just 3 words in every known language. "They are coming." The elders knew immediately what it meant. They called an emergency meeting of every species in the known galaxy. Young and old, powerful and weak, all were invited. All came. First memory of the architect spoke first. "The devourers have found us," it said. "We have been fleeing them for 4 billion years. We have watched them consume 17 galaxies, every star, every planet, every living thing. stripped down to raw materials, fed into their machines. Now they come for the Milky Way. The chamber erupted in panic. Species shouted over each other. Some demanded more information. Others demanded weapons. Others simply screamed. Consul, old now but still proud, stood and demanded silence. "What are these devourers?" he asked. "Can they be fought? Can they be reasoned with?" "They are not a species," said the whisper, pressing its cold voice into every mind. "They are machines, self-replicating, self-improving. They have no culture, no language, no desires. They exist only to consume and grow. They cannot be reasoned with. They cannot be bribed. They cannot be stopped." Everyone says that until someone stops them, a voice called out. The chamber turned. At the back of the room, a human delegation had been sitting quietly. Now a man stood among them. He was tall and dark-skinned, with gray at his temples and stars on his uniform, Admiral of the United Earth Directorate. "The Devourers have never lost because no one has ever truly fought them," said. "Every species they have encountered has done one of two things. They have tried to negotiate or they have tried to run. Neither works. You cannot negotiate with a machine that wants to turn you into raw materials, and you cannot outrun something that has all the time in the universe." "Then what do you suggest?" demanded. "That we fight against machines that have destroyed 17 galaxies." "Yes," said simply. Silence fell. "You are insane," said Ambassador Eth of The Devourers have consumed civilizations that spanned millions of stars. They have destroyed species that could move planets and ignite suns. What can your primitive world offer against such power?" Smiled. It was not a kind smile. "We offer the one thing no one else has tried," he said. "We offer the willingness to lose." He stepped forward and the holographic projectors in the chamber activated. Images appeared in the air. Data streams, analysis, projections. "We have been studying the Devourers since we learned of their existence," said. 20 years of research. And we have found something interesting. The Devourers optimize for efficiency. They calculate resource expenditure against resource gain. Every action they take is designed to maximize output and minimize cost. He pointed to a diagram. "This is their weakness. They assume their enemies will behave rationally. They assume that if they destroy enough ships, the enemy will retreat. If they kill enough soldiers, the enemy will surrender. If they burn enough worlds, the enemy will give up." He looked around the chamber. "We will not retreat. We will not surrender. We will not give up. We will throw ourselves at them until our ships are gone. Then we will throw ourselves at them with knives. Then with our bare hands. We will make every planet a fortress. We will make every moon a trap. We will make them pay for every inch of space in blood and fire and time." "And then you will die," Eth said. "All of you. What will that accomplish?" "Time," said. "Every year we delay them is a year to learn. Every ship we destroy is data. Every battle we fight teaches us something new. The Devourers have never faced an enemy willing to accept unlimited losses. They have never faced an enemy that treats death as a learning opportunity." He looked directly at the elders. "You have run for 4 billion years. Has it saved you? They are still coming. They will always be coming. Eventually there is nowhere left to run, so we propose something different. We propose that you stop running. Stand with us. Fight with us. Let us buy you time to find another way." The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then spoke. His voice was quiet, old. 60 years ago you were primitive. You had no FTL, no shields, no weapons worth mentioning. Now you propose to lead a war against the greatest threat in the history of the universe. Why should we follow you?" Looked at him calmly. "Because you have no other choice," he said. "The elders will run. They have been running since before your species existed. But where will you go? You are young races. You do not have the resources or the knowledge to flee beyond their reach. You can run and die tired, or you can stand and die fighting. We choose to fight. We invite you to join us." The vote was called. The elders voted to retreat, as everyone knew they would. They began preparations to abandon the galaxy, to flee into the void and hope the devourers did not follow. But the young races were divided. Some wanted to run, some wanted to surrender, and some, looking at the humans, remembering the warnings of the elders, began to see something they had never seen before. Hoping. The Dominion voted to fight. The Federation voted to fight. The Combine, after long debate, voted to fight. One by one, the young races made their choice, not because they believed they could win, not because they thought they would survive, but because the alternative was to run forever and they were tired of running. The humans had shown them another way, a terrible way, a way that led to suffering and death beyond imagination, but also a way that led forward, a way that meant something. Admiral watched the votes come in. When the final tally was counted, he nodded slowly. "Thank you," he said. "I will not lie to you. Many of us will die, perhaps most of us, perhaps all of us. The devourers are powerful beyond anything we have ever faced, but they have never faced us. They have never faced creatures who refuse to calculate the cost of resistance." He raised his hand in a gesture that humans used to show respect. "We will teach you to be stubborn," he said. "We will teach you to be patient. We will teach you to die without surrender and fight without hope. And maybe, if we are lucky, we will teach the devourers something too." He smiled, and this time there was warmth in it. "We will teach them to be afraid." The war began 3 months later. It would last 300 years. And the galaxy would never be the same. 300 years of war. 300 years of death, fire, and darkness. 300 years of ships burning in the void and worlds screaming as they died. 300 years of sacrifice beyond counting. The cost was terrible. The Dominion, once 60 worlds strong, was reduced to 7. The Federation ceased to exist as a nation. Its survivors scattered across refugee stations, their government destroyed, their a tomb of ash and silence. The Combine lost 4/5 of its population. Species that had flourished for 10,000 years were now memories, their names carved on monuments that floated in the darkness. And humanity bled. Oh, how humanity bled. Earth was hit 17 times. Each time the humans rebuilt. Mars was cracked open, its atmosphere stripped away, its colonies shattered. The humans dug deeper. Luna was turned to rubble. The humans moved to the asteroids. They lost world after world, fleet after fleet, generation after generation. But they did not stop. Every battle taught them something. Every death provided data. Every defeat revealed a weakness in the enemy. The devourers were machines, perfect in their logic, optimal in their strategy. They had consumed 17 galaxies without meeting serious resistance. They had never fought humans before. In the 47th year of the war, human scientists discovered that devourer communication signals could be jammed. It cost 12 billion lives to learn this. They jammed the signals anyway. In the 112th year, human engineers developed a weapon that could damage devourer harvester vessels. It required flying directly into the harvester's processing core. The first 10,000 attempts failed. The humans built better ships and tried again. In the 203rd year, human strategists found a pattern in devourer movements. A central hub somewhere in the void, coordinating the entire swarm. If it could be destroyed, the devourers would become disorganized, purposeless, easy to destroy piece by piece. But the hub was protected, surrounded by the largest concentration of harvesters in the galaxy. No fleet could reach it. No weapon could destroy it from a distance. So the humans built a fleet that could reach it, not to win, not to return, just to get there and strike. 40,000 ships, the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled, every ship crewed by volunteers who knew they would not come home. At the head of the fleet was a vessel called the UED Constance, named after the woman who had welcomed Captain 3 centuries ago. The fleet launched on the morning of a Tuesday. For 9 days, they fought through the harvester swarms. Every hour, more ships died. Every minute, more humans gave their lives for a few more kilometers of distance. The Devourers threw everything at them, more machines than stars in the sky, more weapons than drops in an ocean. On the 9th day, 153 ships remained. The hub was in sight. Admiral's great-granddaughter, Captain, commanded the Constance. She was 34 years old. She had known since childhood that she would die in this war. She had made peace with it. "All ships," she said into her communication device. "It has been an honor. Today we finish what our ancestors started. Today we prove what humanity is worth." She paused. No retreat, no surrender, no regrets. The 153 ships accelerated toward the hub. 152 were destroyed in the approach. The Constance alone reached the target, its hull torn open, its engines failing, most of its crew dead. Captain pressed the firing mechanism herself. The hub exploded. Across the galaxy, the Devourers stopped. Their coordination was gone. Their purpose was lost. Without the hub to guide them, they became simple machines, following old programs, easy to predict, easy to destroy. The war was not over. It took another 97 years to hunt down every remaining harvester, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. Humanity had won. When the last Devourer was destroyed, the galaxy fell silent. The survivors looked around at the ruins of their civilizations and tried to understand what had happened. The elders returned from their hiding places in the void. They found a galaxy transformed. The young races were broken but alive. The Devourers were gone, and at the center of it all stood humanity, battered and bleeding but unbowed. First Memory of the Architects requested a meeting with the new human director, a young woman named. She was small and quiet, with black hair and calm eyes. She did not look like a leader of warriors, but looks meant nothing. The humans had taught the galaxy that. Stood before her in a chamber that looked out over the rebuilt cities of Earth. The planet had been bombed 17 times. The humans had rebuilt it 17 times. The new cities were different from the old ones, but they were still there, still filled with life, still reaching toward the stars. "We contained your species for 200,000 years," said. "We feared what you might become. We were wrong. We did not fear you enough." Director did not respond immediately. She looked out the window at her world, at the people walking in the streets below, at the ships rising into the sky. "You were not wrong," she said finally. "You saw what we could be. You knew we were dangerous. The mistake was thinking that you could prevent it. We would have become what we are no matter what you did. The cage just gave us time to grow." "Do you hate us for the quarantine?" asked. "Do you seek revenge?" Turned to face the ancient being. Her expression was calm. "No," she said. "We understood even then. A species that saw what you saw, that lived as long as you lived, would naturally fear something like us. We do not blame you for acting on that fear. We would have done the same." She paused. "But we need you to understand something now. We do not forget. We remember every year of our imprisonment. We remember who put us there and why. That memory is part of us. It will never fade." Process this for a long moment. "And what will you do with that memory?" Smiled. It was a gentle smile, but behind it was something hard and eternal. "We will use it to keep ourselves sharp," she said. "To remind ourselves what we are capable of. To ensure that we never become complacent, never grow weak, never stop reaching. The Devourers are gone, but the universe is vast. There will be other threats, other challenges, other tests." She stepped closer too. "We will be ready for them. We will always be ready, because we remember what it was like to be helpless. We remember what it was like to be caged, and we will never let it happen again. Not to us, not to anyone." Considered her words carefully. "And if a species threatened humanity's allies, would you protect them as you protected yourselves in this war?" Yes, said without hesitation. That is the other lesson of the quarantine. Being alone is weakness, having friends is strength. The young races stood with us when we asked. They bled with us. They died with us. That debt can never be repaid, but we will try. She extended her hand in the human gesture of agreement. Work with us, she said. Truly work with us. Share your knowledge. Accept ours. Build something new together, something that combines the wisdom of ages with the fire of youth. And we will stand between you and anything that comes out of the dark. Forever. Looked at her hand. In 4 billion years, the architects had never made such a covenant with a species so young. It went against every protocol, every tradition, every instinct. But protocols and traditions and instincts had led them to run for 4 billion years, and the running had not saved them. Only the humans had done that. Extended a crystalline appendage and touched hand. The elders warned them about you, said. Perhaps we should have warned ourselves. Smile widened. You can still learn, she said. That is all we ask. Keep learning, keep growing, keep trying. That is the human way. It can be your way too if you let it. Made a sound that might have been laughter. Teach us then, it said. Teach us to be stubborn. And so the galaxy entered a new age. An age built not on the caution of elders or the hunger of young races, but on the impossible, irrational, unbreakable will of humanity. The species that would not die. The species that would not stop. The species that every elder had warned about, and that not a single one had truly understood. Until now. In the centuries that followed, the galaxy would face many challenges. New threats would emerge from the darkness. Old wounds would take generations to heal. Mistakes would be made. Lives would be lost. But the humans would be there, standing guard, keeping watch, ready to bleed and burn and die and rise again. Because that was what they did. That was what they would always do. And the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter, knowing that somewhere in the darkness, something stubborn and wonderful and terrifyingly human was watching over them all. Not conquerors, not rulers, just guardians. The guardians who refused to quit.